Hello, you absolute legends. Who is the greatest Super Mario 64 player of all time? If you asked me this question 1 month ago, the answer would have been easy. I would have instantly told you that the best player ever is Cheese. This guy has dominated what is arguably the most competitive, difficult, and prestigious category that speedrunning of any game has to offer. This is the 120-star category, or in other words, collecting every single star and finishing the game. Super Mario 64 has long been at the top in popularity, both in terms of the amount of players competing or the sheer number of people watching, and 120-star is the longest and, in my opinion, the most challenging category. Cheese has held the 120-star record longer than anyone, and he's been regarded as the best for almost an entire decade. But if you ask me today who the greatest Super Mario 64 player of all time is, I would probably still say Cheese, but there's another player that has suddenly come into the equation. And what's interesting is that this other player might be the greatest of all time for a completely different reason. On the 18th of November, the speedrunner Ouija beat the 120-star world record that was held by Cheese. This was shocking because his personal best at the time was a minute slower than the world record. He was only ranked 8th, which is a crazy jump. Also, he smashed the world record by 15 seconds, which is huge considering how good the world record already is. However, while this new 120-star world record is incredible, just getting it once doesn't make you the greatest. But Ouija has the potential to do something far better than just getting one world record. He has the potential to do something that no one else has ever done. In fact, no one else has even come close, except for Ouija. And if Ouija did do this one particular achievement, it would instantly solidify him as the greatest of all time. It doesn't matter how long he's held the record. It doesn't matter how many total world records he's achieved or for how long he's been considered the best. If he did this one thing, one time, he is the greatest. In this video, we will take a look at what Ouija is on the cusp of achieving, and learn why it would undoubtedly be one of, if not the greatest feat in speedrunning history. I really hope you enjoy. This video is sponsored by Naraka Blade Point, and I have to admit, I'm about 5 years behind when it comes to online games. Until Naraka came along, I had literally never played a battle royale, but shockingly, within a couple of hours of playing Naraka, I was hooked. And to no one's surprise, I absolutely dominated. And what's great is that until the 22nd of December, Naraka is free to try, and then 50% off until January 5th. The cool thing about Naraka is that it's centered around melee combat. This means it's not some brain-dead point-and-click kind of game. It's a fighting game. You need to react to your opponent's moves and act accordingly. This means that you can use your intelligence and skill to outwit your enemies. And I know that my viewers are literally the smartest, most talented, and best-looking gamers on the planet. Each hero has unique skills too. I use Kurumi, who can heal herself and replenish armor. And come December 22nd, a new hero, Feria Shen, will be joining the game. My in-game name is Carl Jobst, so add me as a friend and we can do some trios. Between the 15th and 25th of December, doing in-game quests will also put you in the Naraka lottery to win some cool prizes. Again, Naraka is free until the 22nd and 50% off until January 5th. So grab the game, send me a friend request, and let's play. The download link will be in the description. Speedrunning in Super Mario 64 is broken up into 5 main categories, which is centered around how many stars a player must collect before finishing the game. These are 0 star, 1 star, 16 star, 70 star, and 120 star. These 5 categories can generally be split into 2 broader categories representing the shorter speedruns of 0, 1, and 16 star, and the longer speedruns of 70 and 120 star. Usually, players will specialize in either one of these. Some players do well in shorter speedruns, while others do well in longer speedruns. This is how it has always been for the entire history of the game. There has never been a player who has dominated both the 120-star world record and also held the record for 16-star or lower. 3 years ago, I made a video covering the runner Dowski, who in 2019 did something amazing. He simultaneously held the world record for 3 of the 5 main categories, those being 0, 1, and 16 star. This is the most world records anyone has ever held at the same time, and is easily one of the greatest achievements anyone has ever done in the game. Dowski was truly a special player, and he completely owned these shorter records. But if you do look at his longer speedruns, it's a different story. He's still good and has respectable times, but he's nowhere near the same caliber. In 120 star he's 19th, and in 70 star he's 34th. For most of the game's history, the shorter categories have been dominated by the Japanese. There are likely no two better examples than Zaya and Akira. Between 2013 and 2018, these two players heavily competed in the three shorter categories, and in that 5-year period, the world records for 0, 1, and 16 star were split between these two players. The records went back and forth many times between the two, but they absolutely dominated everyone else. Zaya and Akira were never competitive in 70 or 120 star though. In fact, they barely played 120, with Zaya sitting at 231st and Akira in 55th. Lately, the 0 and 1 star categories have been dominated by the Japanese runner Kano, who holds them both. At the shorter runs, he is exceptionally good, also placing a respectable 5th in 16 star. Again, however, he is lacking in the other areas. In fact, he doesn't even have a submitted run for 120. The shorter speedruns are centered around the attempt to achieve perfect play. Because the runs are so short, this means that if you make a mistake and the run ends, you can just reset and you haven't invested much time. With the reset count being higher, players can use more challenging but faster strategies. When you compare the way players move in 16 star to 120 star, you can immediately see the difference. Shorter categories require extremely precise play, using extremely difficult techniques. The longer categories have different challenges, and therefore require different strategies. In 120 star, perfect play is not the goal. If you watch even the world record runs, they are littered with mistakes and time losses. With a game this intricate and a speedrun this long, mistakes are inevitable. They are a part of the run, and you are never going to get around that. Therefore, it's more about consistency and risk mitigation. It's about striking the perfect balance between speed and safety. And when runs do get longer, another unexpected hurdle emerges as well. And it's one that I've suffered with enormously myself, which is why I only speedrun individual levels which are much shorter. And this hurdle is stress. Some people handle nerves better than others. Personally, when I'm on world record pace, my hands start to shake and I lose all control. I've tried to fix it for 2 decades, but it doesn't seem like there is anything I can do to stop it. It seems like some people are just naturally better at dealing with stress than others. In a speedrun that's only 7 minutes long, which is the case with 0 and 1 star, by the time you realize you might be on world record pace, you've only got several minutes left in the speedrun. That's really hardly anything, and even if you choke, it doesn't matter too much because you reset so often anyway. In the 120 star speedrun, by the time you realize you're on a good run, you still have an hour to play. When things really start to get hype, there's still half an hour to go. If your hands are shaking too much, and if you can't deal with the pressure, you will choke at some point. It's impossible to play well for that long in a game like Super Mario 64 if you're too nervous. And while the Japanese players always owned the shorter categories, it was the West that reigned supreme in 120. Before Twitch blew up in 2011, it was again the Japanese that led the way in Mario 64's longest category. However, in 2011, a monster awoke. An American by the name Siglemic, who may just be the most influential Mario 64 speedrunner of all time. Not necessarily in terms of strategies, but simply in bringing the game to the masses in the West. His speedrunning streams were gigantic, easily some of the biggest on Twitch at the time. And between 2012 and 2014, he was absolutely dominant in 120 star. Throughout that same period, he also held the 70 star record, breaking it multiple times. When it came to these shorter categories though, he was not competitive, and didn't even submit runs for 0 and 1 star. Over the years, there have been a number of world record holders in 120 star, players like Punkation, Liam, Simply, all amazing players who have achieved great world records. But once again, none of them are competitive in these shorter categories, and none of these players have even submitted runs for 0 and 1 star. Punkation did do well though in attaining the world record for the 70 star world record many times between 2014 and 2016. Then of course we get to the GOAT himself, Cheese. Since 2015, he has been destroying the 120 star category, setting more world records than anyone else in the history of the run, and holding the world record for longer than anyone else. On top of that, he has achieved the 70-star world record a couple of times and held it along with the 120-star record. He has set some of the most memorable world records ever, including a world record at a live event, which is just stupid considering how competitive the game is. Cheese is arguably the greatest of all time because of how long he has been at the top, and yet, just like with the rest, he has only ever been good at longer speedruns. He was never a top player in 16-star and has never submitted any runs for 0 and 1-star. I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really want to stress how difficult it is to be good at both the long and short categories. It's basically unheard of. Now, there is one caveat to this, which is the Japanese players of the pre-Twitch era. This is before 2011, when Mario 64 speedrunning was developing in Japan but hadn't yet blown up in the West. The Japanese players were the best in the world, but the competition from other countries was basically non-existent. In that era, you did have players that had achieved records in both 120-star and 16-star, players like Honey, Shigeru, and Batora. These were pioneers of the game, absolute legends by any measure, but I do want to make the distinction of the pre- and post-Twitch era. After Twitch, the population of Mario 64 speedrunners exploded, dwarfing what was previously seen, and therefore the game became much more competitive. People branched off and specialized in different categories, and gameplay in general became much more optimized. Since Mario 64 really took off post-Twitch and became the most iconic game in speedrunning history, there hasn't been a player who could go toe-to-toe with the best in both the short and long categories. That is, of course, until now, and that player's name is Ouija. Obviously, someone doesn't just wake up one day and get a Super Mario 64 world record. There has to be a lot of practice beforehand. But as far as being a champion is concerned, Ouija exploded onto the scene in 2018 when he dethroned the Japanese runners and shocked the world by achieving the 16-star world record.
It's over. I did it, man. I did it. I did. I did it.
Ouija was young. He was barely 15, which is also very young for a Mario 64 world record holder. This is actually quite young for any game, let alone the most competitive in the world. Ouija was most certainly a prodigy. Though he didn't just play 16-star, he was all over the place. And if you look at his run history, he jumped around from 16-star to 70-star to 1-star to 120-star. He was slowly developing his skills in every category. Naturally, this takes time. It takes years to perfect one category, let alone all of them. Ouija grinded and honed his craft for the next 3.5 years, slowly building up his skill set. And then, in late 2021, it all built up to a climax where Ouija went full force and solidified himself in Mario 64 history. First, on the 11th of November 2021, Ouija broke the 70-star world record held by D-Whatever. The insane thing about this world record is that he missed a Bowser throw, which is shocking for 70-star. While 70-star is still considered a longer category, it's still fairly optimized, and to be so far ahead that you can miss a throw and still get the record is mind-blowing. But he didn't stop there. Several weeks later, he would break the 16-star world record again.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, dude, what the fuck?
This was already insane, because he now held the record for two distinct categories, 16 and 70-star. This is crossing the boundary between long and short, showing that he had mastered both skill sets, but he still kept going. Barely over a week later in early December, he came within 1 second of the 1-star world record, landing in second place. If you watch his 1-star run, it has obvious errors, and I'm not quite sure why he stopped playing at this point, because it only took him 10 days to get this time. In 1 month, Ouija had broken the 70-star and 16-star world records and achieved second place in 1 star. He was obviously a king at these shorter categories, but his 120-star personal best was still several minutes behind the world record. Attaining the 70-star record showed he had potential in the longer categories, but the true test is 120-star. And up until this point, we still didn't know if he could truly join the group of legends like Siglemic, Cheese, and Punkation who have dominated 120. But Ouija was going to try. Over the next 12 months, he devoted himself to 120-star, and after a year of focus, he was still over a minute away from the world record and was in 8th position. This is extremely good, but a minute is still a massive barrier to cross. And who knew how many more years it could have taken to match the record? Many players have gotten to this point, hit a wall, and given up. But as history showed, that was not Ouija. Last month he achieved what is possibly the most shocking world record in Mario 64 history. On the 18th of November, he was 1 minute and 8 seconds behind the world record held by Cheese. By the end of the day, he was 15 seconds ahead.
Dude, no, way. No fucking way, dude. Oh my god, dude. No fucking way, dude. No. Oh my fucking god. Literally, that's how bad I'm shaking. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm trying to sit still, and I am shaking this bad.
This new 120-star world record is ridiculous, and again, Ouija does it with a missed throw. This run, along with his skill in these shorter categories, makes him the most well-rounded Super Mario 64 player in modern history. The question is, where can he go from here? And all eyes are on the possibility of Ouija doing something that has never been done in the history of the game. Ouija is closer than anyone else has ever been at achieving the world record in all 5 of the major categories. He's honestly the only person that has ever really looked like he even has a chance. The 0 and 1 star world records are probably the next 2 easiest. Ouija is still only 1 second behind the record for 1 star, and that only took him just over a week to get. If he did get these 2 records, which is 100% doable, he would have 4 out of 5. Since Ouija got the 16-star record in late 2021, it has been lowered a fair bit. A couple of weeks ago, the runner Suigi lowered the record to 1441, which is 12 seconds ahead of Ouija's personal best. This new record by Suigi is nothing short of incredible. This would easily be the most difficult for Ouija to get out of the remaining 3. I think Ouija is possibly the most naturally gifted runner to play the game, so I think he can do it, but it will definitely require some work. If Ouija did get all 5, it would be, in my opinion, the greatest achievement in speedrunning history. Not just in Super Mario 64, but in any game ever. Super Mario 64 is the most competitive and most iconic speedrunning game of all time. To hold the world record in all major categories would be so tremendous, so unbelievable, that it's impossible to adequately put into words how amazing it would be. And the only person I've ever seen that seemingly has a real chance is Ouija. With all that said, I don't know if he will go for the 5, and I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to sit back and see what unfolds. What I do recommend is following Ouija on Twitch and stopping by. If he's playing Super Mario 64, there's a chance you may just witness a piece of gaming history. And whether it's Ouija or someone else, one thing is for sure. The first person to hold the world record in all 5 categories would undoubtedly be the greatest speedrunner of all time. Until then, thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.